Hello, 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 and welcome to the conversation. This is Natasha Lamora, and I have my lovely co-host, Jadia Jackson.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Again, welcome to the conversation. I just received an email or a message, and someone said they would like for us to talk about this. So we got our first video that we're going to kind of talk about. So what I'm going to do now, I want you all to remember this. We are therapists. We are licensed therapists. This is not therapy, and we are not your therapist. So if you are in need of therapy, reach out to someone. But do not count this as therapy. So I'm gonna play a video. We're gonna kind of give some feedback or our own personal thoughts, because we've been talking about creating and maintaining healthy relationships, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was spot on. So I'm gonna play this clip for you. Now listen, I am not technology savvy, so I am going to try to give them credit or tag them or post them or however you do it. I'm gonna try to figure that out. But if I don't, someone just message me or show me how to do it, and I'll definitely do it, because I do not want to not give them credit, or I want to make sure that I give them credit. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video now. Okay, let's go.
When a man gets up and cooks something for you while you're sick, that's not basic.
No,
what is
basic.
it?
That's basic. I bet you your other half would say, no, that's basic.
And if it is basic, congratulations to me for learning what's basic today and not overly praising something that is basic, because I maybe have been overly praising things that are basic.
No, it's basic.
Definitely cooking for me. If I can't cook for myself and we live in the same house together, that's basic.
But even if we don't live in the same house,
because we still gotta eat.
If I don't feel well, and regardless of me having the capability of taking care of myself, if you care about and you love me, I would think that would be a thought process of, even if I can't cook, let me make sure you're fed.
Right.
Let me make sure you have the medicine or whatever that you need to be okay.
And I guess
Okay, so let's get into it. I was like,
I know a lot of things popped into my head. The first thing was to have someone diminish someone's contribution. That's the first thing I heard, where she's saying, well, that's praiseworthy, and it was her experience. And then this man jumped in and said, no, that's really basic. And I really want to point to this thing about us not honoring and appreciating what people do for us. And I think it comes from this romantic notion about love. Like, if you love me, then you'll figure out who I am. And I think sometimes, from my perspective and my understanding, marriage is really a contract. I have these gifts that I'm exchanging, and you have these gifts that you're offering, and hopefully we're coming together. But I want to hear what you got to say, because I got a lot to say, and I don't want to monopolize all the time.
Listen, everything that you just said was like spot on. I thought it was so unfair that they dismissed or just didn't even, like, that's basic. And I'm like, who is to determine what's basic in a relationship? Like you said, we all have things that we offer, and we all have things that we need. And I'm going to be honest with you. Even if your partner cooks for you, that should be acknowledged and that should be rewarded, even if he cooks, even if he doesn't cook. And I don't understand what's basic about that. And I think that's where couples oftentimes get lost in the sauce in these relationships, and things become, they get taken for granted.
Yes.
Even if my husband takes the trash out, I haven't taken trash out in years. I'm still saying, thank you, babe. Thank you for taking out the trash. Even though they were like, well, that's basic. He's supposed to. Nobody owes you anything. And so
that is so true. No one owes you anything. And I think what we forget is that men do things differently, and they expect different things. There's this YouTube that I was watching. I can't remember his name, but it's How to Stay Married and Not Kill Someone. And he said men play for points. And I've heard this before. And the points that they play for is appreciation. And like you said, if your husband takes out the trash, you're like, thank you, baby. And that's, even when my brother lived with me, I said to him, these are the things that I expect, that I need you to do for staying here. And I said, now, how do you want to be appreciated? How do you want to be acknowledged for your contribution? I don't want to take him for granted. Yeah, we're both living in here. This household has to run. But then to turn around and go, well, that's basic. I should just expect you to do that. But the more I appreciated his his contribution, because that's his energy, that's his time.
Right.
The more he wanted to do, he was doing stuff that I didn't even ask him to do. And that's it. Men play for points. And my husband said that to me a lot. Where are my points? I need my points. You forgot to give me my points. Sometimes when I praise him, he'll go ding, 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 ding.
Right. That is so funny. But this is the thing. It goes both ways. The same way that we want to acknowledge a male, females want to be acknowledged. That's how we get burned out. Like, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I don't even get a thank you. And even though I know that you're appreciative, I want to hear that. So I feel like nothing is really basic. I feel like nothing is off the table. I feel like whenever someone is doing something for you, it should be rewarded, and it should not be taken for granted or assumed that you should do it. And it goes back to creating standards around what it is that you need, creating standards around what it is that you want, acknowledging when you should be appreciated. Like you just said, I think we're all working for points. I want to be appreciated. My partner wants to be appreciated. When we don't appreciate someone, it's almost like going to work and not getting a check. Eventually, you're going to quit.
And that's our appreciation. Sometimes people go, oh, they're taking me for granted. I'm like, are they not paying you? And you're like, right. Yeah, but I'm like, no, but you're right. Different people want appreciation. They want, it needs, sometimes it's shown in titles, promotion, a plaque, acknowledgement, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, to say that's basic, that was like, oh, wow. And I think that contributes, that attitude, because it was an attitude that he had. And I think that contributes to the conflict within our relationship, because we're looking at one, that's just basic, that you're supposed to do that. No one is supposed to do anything for you. Right. And so when we begin to acknowledge, like you're saying, let's acknowledge what people are doing. And you're right, women do want points as well. And if you ever can watch that YouTube, he says women give points differently than how men will give themselves points. It's an excellent thing to talk about, because then it even speaks to what we're talking about now. How does this man want to be acknowledged for what he's doing? Because he sees his loved one is right now is sick, and he wants to provide for her. However, for her to then just take that for granted, to say, well, that's what you're supposed to do because I'm sick. Well, wait a minute now. I still want to be acknowledged. Like, thank you for loving me, because that's what it is. It's a loving gesture. What do you think about that?
I think we have these gender roles and we have them skewed. And I think they hurt us most in the African-American community, right? So, and this is something that I say all the time. We take the measuring stick of the dominant culture and we try to make it applicable to us. And I say us because I am African-American. And it's just not, you will never win at somebody else's game. You have to begin to create your own measuring stick to success. And what I mean by that is, how we look at gender roles, like the male is supposed to provide and pay all the bills, and the woman is supposed to be the home keeper, to keep the home in order. Well, within the African American community, there are more women making more money than the male. So how do you create a sense of equity in that, so that it feels like it's not just one person contributing? So you may have to share some household responsibility if your partner is working 80 hours, if you're a female and she's working 80 hours and the husband is working 40 hours. There may have to be some splitting of the roles, like who is cooking or who is picking up the kids or who is helping with the iron. Like, you have to create, and this is something that I share with all of my couples. You have to create what works for you, and it has to be out of what it is that you need. And I'll give another example. I hear a lot of couples, they come to me and they say, well, I work a lot of hours and I'm still responsible for cooking. I'm still responsible for cleaning. And I'm asking, how do you all create equity in that, right? How can you all do it where nobody is burned out? And then we saw this other TikTok. You have to cook, and I'm speaking for females, not to say that males don't clean, because they do. But you cook, you clean, you work, you do homework, and then you have to be frequently in the evening or in the nighttime for your partner. And you are exhausted, and he's ready to just come down and put it down or whatever. But how do you create this space where some of the gender roles that we've seen from the dominant culture, how do we begin to create this system where you do this, I do that, you did this, you do this, I do that. So when it's time for us to enjoy each other, have some adult quality time, intimate time with our partner, that one person is not exhausted. And so again, it goes back to you create what it is that you need. And it may look different. It may look different from what someone else's relationship may look like.
Absolutely. I mean, you said some really powerful points, or you made some powerful points. I like what you said about the measuring stick. We each get to determine our own measuring stick. What works in my household might not work in your household. You also talked about equity, and I think that would be a really great podcast discussion for us. Equity within a relationship, within a marriage. The thing that I want to talk about also is resentment. Because when I'm giving, resentment begins to build when I don't say, wait a minute, I think I'm overdoing. I think I've given too much. Also, when someone feels valued and appreciated for their contribution, it really causes them to want to give more. It causes them to provide more. But if my contribution is taken for granted, then it begins to create resentment. We just celebrated Valentine's Day. Well, Valentine's Day is a holiday that most men do not like because it's this give on demand. There's no spontaneity. There's no thought to it. And there's this discounting of whatever I've given you. Oh, that's all you could give me? Oh, that's all you done? Oh, you just took me to dinner. No flowers, no candy. No, and think about people who have to do a proposal on Valentine's Day. It has to be this really big, massive event so that we can then share it with our girlfriends. Like, see how romantic that was. So once again, we're measuring people on things that are really external. Because even when people have this really grand wedding, but 2 years later, the marriage has been dissolved. Because it wasn't built or based on the key important elements. So when we start telling people that, oh, that's basic, no. Give people their credit. Give them the juice. Don't be stingy, because I think that's what creates stinginess within a relationship. And I'm really thinking about marriages. Well, I'm not going to acknowledge you for doing that because that's what you're supposed to do, versus thank you for doing that. If that's what he needs, which is about the 5 love languages also, when you think about that, if I'm words of affirmation, and that means I want to be acknowledged for what I've done. But you're like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to acknowledge you for that. Then you're missing the mark. You're actually not willing to give me what it is that I say that I need. I don't determine what my needs are. I don't share it with you. But now you're saying, well, that's basic. I'm not going to give you that.
Again, I wanted to share this because I wanted to kind of hear what the audience had to say. I was so happy that someone sent that to me. But you're right. When you don't acknowledge someone, whether it's basic or not, when you don't acknowledge someone, it creates resentment. And when you become resentful, you begin to keep score. When you keep score, people who keep score oftentimes are trying to win. You don't win in isolation in a relationship. So if you're married or in a committed relationship, there's no winning in isolation. If I win, then he wins. If he wins, then I win. If he loses, then we lose. It's not I win and he lose. We either win together or we lose together. And when you're resentful, it causes you to keep score, and keeping score can really compromise relationships. So again, it goes back to what is it that you need, and having that conversation when you're dating. What is it that you need? What is it that you would like? Because in my mind, I was thinking TMI. About the cooking piece. Some husbands are not great cooks and wouldn't now, can cook or will cook if they need to, but just don't feel comfortable, especially if you are a complainer and very ungrateful and don't acknowledge, they'll just back away. Because you know what I know about men, and again, I'm not a man, but I do a lot of work with men, is they play to win. Like they want to win in your eyes. And if you can never release a compliment, it's almost like, well, if she didn't say thank you, then I didn't do a good job. And if they feel like they can't please you, you'll get a man to say, you know what? I see I can't make you happy. So you know what? I'm gonna bow out, and hopefully somebody else can make you happy. And then the woman's like, no. You make
It's
me
too
happy.
late by then because
Right.
she has demonstrated. And I
Right.
like what you said. Men do play to win. And you're right. He's saying, I can't win with you. I can't
Right.
win at this. And even in marriages, he begins to go, I'm not winning at this. And it's important to him that he feels like he's winning. And if appreciation is the thing that's going to have him win, if praising him is going to have him win, then give him the praise, give him the glory.
Right.
It isn't going to hurt us.
It's not going to hurt. It's only going to help. But listen, thank you so much for coming on. I just wanted to come on to talk about this because I thought it was so appropriate, and especially with Valentine's Day being yesterday. And listen, after Valentine's Day, my schedule kind of spikes up because it's like, listen, we need to talk about this. And you're basing your relationship and your commitment to each other on a day that's not even, anyways. The point that I'm making is thank you all so much for joining. And listen, if you have a clip or you have something or a topic you would like for us to talk about, please share with me at the Wives Inc. At gmail.com or the Wives Inc. at yahoo.com, or you can DM me or go to my website. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. Talking about what is basic. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.